What did you like better, Jedi or The Empire Strikes Back?
Empire.
Blasphemy.
All Jedi had was a bunch of muppets.
Boring conversation anyway.
Bad boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do when Sheriff John Brown come for you? Tell me what you wanna do, what you gonna do? Yeah, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad traits.
Hey Star Wars fans, and welcome to Boring Conversation Anyway. This is episode 144, and as always, I'm your host Chris, and today I'm joined by my good friend Thor. Thor, how you doing?
Doing okay.
Good to see you. You were away last week. Brian had to sub in. Now you're back.
I'm sure he did fine, but not as good.
Well, in his words, I said, thanks for being here. I said, I'm glad you're here to help me out. He goes, well, at least this guy reads the notes. This is what he said.
Hey, not really. Listen, he does great, and we appreciate the help, but I feel like I'm a full-blown ice cream sundae, and he's just like plain vanilla ice cream.
Okay. Yeah. All right. They're going to start a little war with Brian now. All right.
Yeah.
All right, man. So what are we doing today? You just watched it for the first time ever, apparently.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Troops.
Troops is filmed on location with the men of the Imperial Forces. All suspects are guilty, period. Otherwise, they wouldn't be suspect, would they?
A fan film made back in 1997. And I'm bringing it up because this is what really kicks off the fan film craze in the late 90s, right? So Troops was a short mockumentary that was directed by Kevin Rubio, and it debuted at Comic-Con in 1997. And again, it kicked off the whole craze about doing fan films. And because of it, it was taking advantage of the internet distribution, which was the ForceNet. I was telling you about that, the ForceNet.com. And as well as affordable production and special effects. And the quality costumes that people were making back then, they're as amazing as they are now with the 501st and everything like that. You really could put together a fan film for cheap. So what Troops is, it's basically cops in the Star Wars world. Which cops in 97, we're talking full blast, right? This is when it's at its peak. Mm-hmm. Everybody was watching it and everything like that. So we'll talk about Kevin Rubio, and then we're going to talk about the actual, what we just saw. Kevin Rubio designed characters for their Sunday morning lineup on the Fox Kids Network, which is pretty cool. In 96, Rubio produced his first feature film, the low-budget movie Till Dawn. I never heard of it, didn't see it, don't know anything much about it. Mm-hmm. His biggest success came to date with the 1997 Troops, which was a take on cops, as we said. He really started the whole internet short film craze. I remember going on this website, Thor, all the time to see short films. They were so high-quality films. There was one I remember, which was Jedi being hunted in Queens, dude. It was all shot in Queens. Mm-hmm. So they took the long time ago seriously. And they were in present day in Queens, and this guy was being hunted, and they had a full-blown lightsaber fight in the guy's backyard. And was, to this day, still one of the best lightsaber fights I've ever seen. It was, I don't know if they were trained in fencing or whatever they were, but they knew what they were doing. And it just looked so real, and it was so cool. And, it got so much attention that George caught wind of it, created a whole show to give away medals and trophies to these things.
Yeah.
And it died down basically when YouTube came out, because then anybody could do anything they wanted on YouTube. So now I believe the same website that used to do this now just does news. So a lot has changed over the time. Let's talk about the show.
Yeah.
Cops based. First we see is they're based on Tatooine. The first set we get is Minnesota accent, which I thought was hysterical.
I joined the Empire about 6 years ago. I can remember as a kid, watching the holographic images and being excited about the new direction that the galaxy was taking. So when I was old enough, I went down to the local recruitment center, and signed up.
We got a bunch of stormtroopers, sand troopers, and they are talking to some Jawas.
Right.
And I just think it really echoes Cops so much. The dialogue that was used is really like, if you watch Cops a lot, you would see the way they would talk to the people they were dealing with, and it's just right on the money, man.
We have a report of some stolen droids, and we think these might be it. Excuse me. You want to come over here, please? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Whose droid is this? It's your cousin's. Is this your cousin? Are you his cousin? No? Okay, then who are you? You're his friend. Well, Mr. Friend, would you, step over there for a moment, please?
It does, because, Cops always does that, and the parody element of it's really great. I think for me, watching it for the first time, that, they talk to these two Jawas, which the Jawas are probably, the weakest link, where it's they don't quite look right, but that's not a knock at all. Just the other costumes are really, really good.
Right. I think Jawas are really hard. I do. If you don't get...
you need somebody to fit the costume, and that could be a challenge.
Right, exactly.
Right? So anyways, they're talking to Jawas, about picking up, stolen Imperial droids, and the way they're talking to him, though, and, the segment ends with them shooting one of the Jawas, and then as he tries to run away, and then shooting the other one, and it's funny, but I think, in 2022, with all the videos that come about now of cops and police brutality, it's, a little bit harder to stomach than it probably was in 1997. Do you understand what I mean?
Oh, yes.
It was uncomfortable, the amount of, I've seen this before, in real life.
Yes, okay. Yes.
And they're parodying it, so they're doing cops, and then they're upping the ante because they're Imperial Stormtroopers, right? It's a parody that I think maybe is not as much of a parody as we would have liked it to have been, had we had, body cams and cell phone cams and all that kind of business back in 1997. And that's not a political comment at all. I'm just stating sort of an uncomfortableness that I felt now watching it in 2022.
It's funny. First time I saw it was when I thought we were going to do this a while ago.
Yeah.
So I watched it a couple times then. So by the time I'm watching it now, I do remember feeling that the first time I watched it. When you're used to it, it doesn't bother you as much. But you're right. There is definitely a difference. Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially when we get to the second part of it. I think it's a lot with the second part. Gets a little iffy in there, right?
It does. So after the droid, it's
we'll talk about so we got the Jawas, and like I said, they're talking to him, and he's he's got a stolen droid, and they're like, where's the droid from? And it's my cousin, which I just thought was hysterical. Yeah. And he's like, oh, your cousin. Is he your cousin? He's pointing to another Jawa, and he's like, no, it's your friend. Oh, it's your friend. Okay, Mr. Friend, you stay right there over there. That's the stuff that was my God, they're nailing this stuff, right? And the Jawa takes off, and they just shoot him. And first guy gets him. I think he had the long blaster rifle. He gets him, and he hits him, and then the cloak goes in flames.
Yeah, he looked like what was it? Hades from Hercules. He had flaming hair. The top of his head was on fire.
Yes, exactly. Because we're talking about, we open up with a shuttle taking off and an AT-ST. This is all digital stuff in 1997. This is stuff right off the shelf. You know what I'm saying? You can tell it's not great at all, but it's not awful either.
I mean, honestly, it is as good as the digital effects in Blade. If you want to look at another movie from 1997,
okay,
it is as good.
They shoot both of them, and then he immediately tells them, turn the camera off, turn the camera off, turn the camera off.
Another, I'm squirming because...
Yes, right. And then they turn the camera back on, and he explains everything that happened, and then as he's explaining it, 2 TIE fighters come in and take out the Sandcrawler.
Yeah.
It's wow, all right.
Yeah.
So...
Not something you saw in Cops ever.
That whole thing with the cop was just very happy to be on Tatooine.
And I've been here at Tatooine ever since. Most people would call this the ass end of space, but I like the small town feeling you get around here. I mean, we know everybody. And I feel I can really make a difference here.
I thought it was cool. But now we go to the next segment. This is about a 10-minute movie. So now we go to the next segment. And the next segment is the Lars. There is a dispute. Right? So they go to find out what happened, and it seems that Beru is upset, maybe intoxicated, is what they say. She injured Uncle Owen, got a cut in the ear.
Right.
This is when, to me, it gets...
And it's funny, because I haven't seen Cops in a long time. Maybe I watched it as a kid, but I have seen... Recently, I rewatched Reno 911, which is obviously a Cops parody. So you got the feel for it. And it feels like on every episode of Cops, there's always a domestic dispute.
Right.
Always. And it always looks that way, too. Like, they had Aunt Bruce's face blurred, but then
Yes.
Aunt Barwin wasn't. And the person who did the voice acting for Aunt Brew, I thought was really good.
Are you gonna calm down? Okay, good. Why don't you start over?
Well, yesterday Luke comes in and says, I think these droids...
No, Luke's your boy.
My nephew. Anyway, he says, I think these droids we bought might be stolen. And then he says, well, I don't care. Your only concern is to get them working. And Luke is like, I want to go to the academy. And he says, well, I need you for the harvest this year. And then he starts talking about Obi-Wan and his father.
I did not.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You're just lying. You're always lying to him. You never tell him the truth about him or his sister.
Bruce, shut up.
No, I'm tired of shutting up. You shut up.
Really good. But yeah, they get in a dispute, and she's trying to explain it, and
the cop's going into detail with her, and he's like, what's the problem? And she's like, we don't have a problem. He goes, that's where you're wrong.
What do you mean you don't know? You obviously have a problem, otherwise we wouldn't be
I don't have a problem.
Baru, come here. Now look, do you see his ear? How it's cut like that? Now, it didn't get that way by itself, did it?
No.
And you did that, didn't you? Yes, you did. Now, see, that tells me you have a problem. And when we get called in, then it becomes our problem. And
Yeah, but he was the one who started
Now,
it.
wait a second, Baru. I'm talking. I listen to you, now you listen to me. That's how this works, okay?
And he brings her to the ear. He's like, shows Uncle's own ear. He's like, so what happens is you have a problem, and we get called out. Now, I have a problem, and we need to figure this out. And they're going back and forth about what they should do and things like that. And she's getting into it, and she's talking about Luke and talking about the new droids that they got, and they might have been stolen. And she's giving them all that stuff. Okay, here's your options.
Mm-hmm.
I leave you here, or I could take you to a shelter.
Right.
And I think you guys should be separate. Because if you get separated, it'll cool down and you can figure it out later. So she decides that she's going to go to the shelter, and she leaves. And this is where it gets a little cringy, too, because the cop is like, she's under the delusion that her boy ran away. It seems like he was just bringing some droids somewhere, and that's it. Like, he won't even believe what she's going through, right? Like that. And then she comes back with a suitcase. And Uncle Owen recognizes what's in it right away, and he charges at her, and they're fighting back and forth, and they blow up.
Let it go!
Should have seen this coming! Thermal detonator! Get back! Get back!
Yeah.
So it's a alternate take of the Empire instead of burning them alive. That
And also, she was delusional because we know that Luke, was looking for the droids. He went away.
Right.
One of my favorite parts though is when he's like, okay, yeah, she's getting her things. Like she's gonna go off. Like he's talking to another troop. And he's like, I'm ready to shoot them both.
We have to come out here again.
Tell me something I don't know.
I'm telling you, I'm ready to shoot them both.
Yep, right there with you.
But for some reason though, that was really funny.
I know. You lost it on that
The way
one.
it was delivered, it's just really funny. But yeah, so it's just like, yeah, she blows up both of them.
Yeah.
That was like a weird, that got really dark.
Yeah, that is really dark. And also too, again, it's a fan film, right? But where they blow up, and then when they come back, when they fade out and they come back, and you see the dome, and you see where the bodies would be, there was nowhere near where they blew up.
Yeah,
so, but the last thing is said, he goes, "Wait a second, didn't she mention something about stolen droids?" And the other guy's like, "Yep," and it just ends. I mean, so much so that it had the Bad Boys theme song in the front and then the end credits. But
that's like the most important part,
right?
of Cops
Because
parody.
it's all about cops. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I really did. First time watching it, what'd you think of it? It was fun,
It was
right?
fun, and I was trying to guess what I thought it was. I was thinking like 2004 or something, but 97. So it was really impressive for a fan film at that time, I think. Just as far as like the costumes, the set, because obviously they probably were in California and not too far from where they shot Jedi and such. So not too bad. Although
Yeah,
I thought I saw greenery in the background. I was like,
Ooh, I didn't remember seeing that.
because it's so old and it's pretty grainy.
It's basically like watching the VHS tape that's on YouTube now. Yeah.
But definitely fun and interesting and a pretty good fan film.
Right, I thought so too. Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up because I just thought it was cool. But we got some time. Do you want to go into some news?
We got some news, yeah.
We got a little bit of news here. We do. The first thing we got, Liam Neeson says that he would love to be back in Star Wars, but he would only return in a movie. He said he's a bit of a movie snob and would not be in a TV show. Is he blowing smoke because everybody assumes that he's going to be in this Obi-Wan at some point?
I hope so. I don't see why. I don't know. It's a like Harrison Ford said, it's a living. So like, if you're getting paid,
right.
What's it to you? And
okay.
Also, I don't know. But also, like, you got stabbed. You're dead.
Yeah. You know, there was a big thing about pushing to bring Mace back again, and I just feel like
you're just undoing those movies.
Yes.
You're just undoing those movies.
I think you got to keep some people dead. You do. You have to.
Not in Disney Star Wars, you don't. Everybody comes back one way or the other.
Well, except for Ben.
Ben
Solo.
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. That movie came out 2 years ago. Like, we'll see.
Oh, God.
Besides, there's only one Ben. It's Ben Kenobi, okay? So just get that straight.
So there's been a crazy rumor going around right now, but it looks like it's certain that there's another Star Wars action-adventure game coming out from the creator of Uncharted, Amy Hennig.
We've been talking about this game for years.
Yes,
I feel like.
and then it got canceled. But now it looks like something that's getting picked up again. Or it's like, new information is that Amy Hennig and Skydance's Star Wars game is a spiritual successor of EA's canceled Project Ragtag. So she probably took what she was going to do there, and then once it got canceled, brought it to somewhere else, and we're going to see that. But
yeah,
Connor is super excited because they've
been. Sounds like the video game equivalent of a repaint, and I hope that it's not.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. But
either way,
my kid is. I mean, I'm super excited too. The idea that next year is the last year of the 10-year contract with EA. Which was stupid to do in the first place.
We're all going to be celebrating like at the end of Return of the Jedi when that happens. They're going to topple the EA statue.
Well, look, okay, in 10 years from EA, we're going to just go with console games. We're not going to talk about phone games. We'll just talk about console games. We got Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2. We got Jedi Fallen Order 1.
Yeah.
We got that it was less than $60. It was like $30 that... Squadrons.
Yeah, it counts.
And within this time frame, they're gonna release They're not calling it Jedi Fallen Order. It's gonna be that the successor to that game is coming out in that time frame.
Okay.
So we're looking at 5 games in 10 years.
Yeah, which in one way, it's like you might think like, well, that's not so bad. Like a game every other year, like space them out. You don't get tired of them, but you just have to remember that LucasArts like put out games a lot and different games for different systems. That's the thing, is that these games are it, whereas you had your Nintendo 64 games and you had your PlayStation games and you had computer games, and they weren't always the same. So it always just felt like not enough. And also, like
I hated that, by the way.
Battlefront 2, Jedi Fallen Order, Squadrons, those were kind of clustered together.
Yes. Crazy fast. So
yeah,
go to what you said. I hated that during the LucasArts days when it was just console, certain games for that, because I wasn't going out to get another console. You know what I mean?
I can see that point.
So you were stuck with what you had, and I always felt like the least amount came to PlayStation back then.
But different consoles, like the Nintendo 64 had much more limitations than the PlayStation, so you could do like, so if you just had released everything, the Nintendo 64 version would always be lesser.
Right.
So developing games specifically for it was kind of a good thing, because then they were just good games, like Rogue Squadron.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But I don't know. Now that I think about it, like, I'm not exactly sure what like the Star Wars game is on the PlayStation, because there was the Knights of the fighting game, Terrakasi or whatever.
Yes.
That game's pretty universally panned as not being so great.
Yeah, I liked it.
I think there was, oh god, what was it? You were like a rebel pilot. Ooh, I can't remember the name of the game.
Rebel Assault.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, 1 and 2, and they used video in between instead of using graphics.
You couldn't have done that on Nintendo 64. I don't think that game. I remember playing it though. It wasn't terrible, but
it was fun because you got even Vader was in. You got cutscenes that were great. Yeah. I'm just psyched. I mean, we're looking like already like 4 or 5 Star Wars games announced by other companies that are just chomping at the bit. Yeah,
I'm definitely ready for it. Like I know that the Lego Star Wars just came out. I it's not really my cup of tea. I think people tend to really like it though.
Yeah, well, I talked about it a little bit with Brian. I can talk about it a little bit more because we just got into A New Hope.
Okay.
So we're playing it in chronological order.
Okay.
I felt so far that the co-op, because we're doing co-op, obviously, that's the whole point of this, was better the first time around.
Okay.
There is some weird stuff like if you go to Mustafar and you're going to have the final battle, just let us play each other. You can control how it's going to end like the movie, but let us play. Instead, you have Connor playing as Obi-Wan, the computer's playing as Anakin, and I'm running around as either R2 or C-3PO. Which they're necessary for certain things, like you have to open up things for them, but most of the time you're standing around, which is just odd, because you're not even fighting anybody else to help. So it's things like that. Like, the other one that was weird to me was, okay, Obi-Wan and Yoda go to the Jedi Academy, see that everybody's dead, and that Vader killed the younglings and whatnot, which they didn't put in there, obviously, because they're kids. But that's the scene I'm talking about. Then they split up. I'm going to get the Emperor. You're going to go get Anakin. Okay. Well, they put a Naboo guard with Yoda. Like, makes no sense. Like, at all. So, you're in the Senate, and Yoda is hopping around fighting the Emperor, and you're shooting at the purple guys that were the beginning of the Royal Guard.
Yeah.
It's weird things like that. But
it's a Lego game.
Right. Exactly. You can let it go. There's a lot of humor in it. And we're having a time of our life. We're having a blast. I will say, I feel like they put a lot of attention into the original trilogy because it feels different. Like we got to Ben's house. That's where we paused it, I think. In that first couple of boards, now of course you could say, well, you like those movies better, but I don't know. I just feel like they put more attention into so it's been cool. We're having a lot of fun with it. Taking our time. The other cool part about it is that usually what happens is that you beat the board and then you can go back into the board and you can do free play. There is a portion of it, like you could just, let's say that I had to go run upstairs to take care of something. He's by himself. He can run around and do free play and come back where I was and then wait for me and like that. So it's cool like that as it is. It's fun and we're enjoying it. So yes, I can't wait for them to release more video games. And other news, speaking of video games, they released Force Unleashed for the Switch.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Did you play that originally when it came out?
Not when it came out. I eventually bought it like years later. It's like in the cheap sort of bin at Toys R Us.
Okay.
I bought it. I think I bought the second one, actually. I don't think it was the first one. But I played it a little bit. So when I see it on sale, I'll probably end up grabbing it on the Switch, maybe.
Okay.
But just not for the price. I think it's a $20 game. So I'll wait for it to go on sale. They always do.
Yeah, right, because I remember them dropping a bunch for the PlayStation. I get them like on Star Wars Day. It was insane.
Yeah.
Speaking of Star Wars Day, we are getting a behind the scenes for Book of Boba Fett on May 4th.
See where it all went wrong. All right, I guess. They're never behind the scenes, though. They're just, I don't know what the polite way to say this is. They're just, look how great we are. Look at this. Just,
no, I understand.
There's this thing about it that's just so much different than what George did those things. Sometimes.
Yes.
Not 100%.
Okay, so you know what? We're going to get into it real quick, but yes, George has a ton of stuff, right?
Well, and it's really interesting. Look at this is how we did it.
But it's gone now. You go get a Blu-ray. Like Connor begged to get the 4K Spider-Man Blu-ray, right? Because he wanted the physical copy of it. The newest one.
Oh, the new one.
Right? Well, okay. There's extras, but there's always, the way they do it now is that these 6-minute bits and a little bit here and a little bit there. You don't get the hour documentary anymore. I think the last time we got that was the Rise of Skywalker had a long one that was like 45 minutes, stuff like that.
I never even saw that one.
But it's rare. It's so rare. Yeah. I mean, peak DVD stuff was Lord of the Rings. When you can, I don't know if you're a Lord of the Rings fan or not, but there was, I'm not making this up. There was probably like 5 hours on each movie extra to look at. Easy.
Yeah, but you know what? Another difference, though, maybe, is I remember watching, I had the Tomorrow Never Dies DVD, James Bond movie. And it was one of the first DVDs I ever owned. and they had this featurette that probably aired on television to promote the film. It was about an hour long, and it went through different Bond movies and how they did different things. And one of the things they talked about was in Tomorrow Never Dies, they do this motorcycle jump from one building to the next, and they talked about like doing the jump for real, and you know how they did it, and this and that. And that's interesting, right? And nowadays it's like, well, yeah, they were in front of a green screen, and then we blew a fan on them, and so maybe there's just not that much to tell anymore.
Man, it could be. I mean, like if you look at the 2 different seasons of Mandalorian, you got 8 episodes, the first behind the scenes because they had all that new tech with the volume.
Yeah.
And then the next season they gave us 2. And the only reason they had 2 is because they wanted to keep Luke separate for the end, right? But you're right. What else are you going to talk about? Now, speaking of this, we'll transition to another story. This is not in the news. My dog is snoring. So, Batman. Batman's on HBO Max.
Yeah.
And they put a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff on
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
So I grabbed one. And here's the coolest part. This is what's so cool to me about Star Wars. Forgive me because I'm just taking this off the top of my head. I recognize the guy's name. I can't remember the name right now. Forgive me. But I knew the name. And I looked it up. And he worked on The Mandalorian. And inside he talks about them. They used the volume for Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Not the way the volume looks, the one we've seen.
Right.
There's some tweaks to it. So they've taken this step and now changed. And where they used it the most was, I thought one of the things about Batman, the new Batman movie, is that I was in love with Gotham. Mm-hmm. I thought it looked great. And a lot of it was in England, obvious, right? But when they're on buildings and they're talking on 2 people talking on buildings and you see the skyline, they created that skyline in the volume. Mm-hmm. They moved buildings to where they wanted them to make it look iconic and make it look more like Gotham and less like something you would recognize. I just think it's awesome how Star Wars propels all of this new technology and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just going to be insane. If you're already using it in movies, now you know that it's good enough, right? That it's just going to be all over the place now. That's going to be the next thing that they're doing because it's all real-time information. The actors and actresses, they're seeing the skyline behind them. They know where they are at all times. I just think that's so cool. And a quick thing, too, is Legends. Essential Legends. You know they've been re-releasing the books? Every couple of months, they re-release a bunch of books. But what I did not know, and I think this is awesome, is that some of those books, not all of them that they're re-releasing, are getting the audio treatment.
Mm-hmm.
So books that never had it before or had an abridged version is now getting the full version of it. I think that's cool. Because there's a lot of Legends books that don't have the audio, and you know how I like the audio. Because it's like, I know you read Scoundrels, but the audio of Scoundrels is like watching a movie, well, listening to a movie. Yeah. It's just great. So it's cool that they're doing that for people because they're old books at this point, you know? So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm sure the people that wrote the books are being very well paid.
No, that's another story, man. I, honestly, dude, that is it's just absolutely, you're absolutely right. And the last bit of news, which I think is pretty funny, Hayden Christensen just said that in prep for the Obi-Wan show, he streamed the heck out of the Clone Wars to watch how Anakin was in that. And I think that's pretty cool. It would be nice if there's a merger of the way he performed the character. We'll see. Because I think there's going to be flashbacks, that's why.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good that he's, I don't know, taking it seriously, I guess. Or
are you excited in the least for Obi-Wan?
I'm not excited about anything. Ever.
That's right, you said this before. Brian said that he is cautiously optimistic with Obi-Wan.
I think I agree with that one. It's just, how many times can you go back to somebody that's continuously let you down?
Well, as far as TV goes, I know Boba Fett was not...
Once.
What's that?
They only let me down once. And even then, not bad. Like, the thing with Boba Fett is that Boba Fett's not terrible. It's just like, it could have been great.
Well, I think if we get Kev on, he would disagree with you a lot about that one.
I mean, I think there was one Boba Fett show where I really went off on it.
Yes, there is.
So here I am months later, be like, it wasn't so bad.
No, you're right, though. You're right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm starting to take this, like, I used to be always hypersensitive about this and worried about things, but I'm just like, I said it to Brian, you can't take away the movies. You can't take away New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, right? If they do something, screw up A New Hope, I'm not going to watch them and be like, well, now that doesn't make sense. I'm not. I just be like, nope, it's my New Hope. That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because, like, Brian doesn't think the helmet's coming off. And I'm like, then why did you get Hayden Christensen in here? Because it's either be flashbacks or the helmet's coming off. Because anybody could be in that suit if the helmet stays on.
I've been saying that forever, but yeah.
Right. So, I'm just not sure. But
I don't know.
It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, it will. That definitely will.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Please check us out on Twitter at Star Wars Cast and Instagram at BCA Podcast. Email us at podcastbca@gmail.com. If you can, leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. It would help us out a lot. And if you can support us in a different way, check out TeePublic and you can check out some designs. Thor, why don't you say goodbye?
Not quite yet. I was just reading the Wikipedia page for Troops.
Okay.
And it said that in a Reddit AMA in January 2018, Rubio, the director, stated that Troops is acknowledged by George Lucas as a canonical installment in the Star Wars franchise. That's probably a joke. I don't like to think that Aunt Beru really blew up Uncle Owen. I mean, George says it's canon, so... Well,
George likes to have a lot of fun with that stuff.
Assuming that this is, that wasn't a joke, which he may have been joking. I don't know the guy very well. But anyways, goodbye, everybody.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Go make some droids.
Boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do when Sheriff John Brown come for you? Tell me what you wanna do, what you gonna do? Yeah, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come?
Well, as you can see, things got a bit nasty here. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it was almost expected with these people. Well, the farmers out here are having a bad season. Tempers are high, and it's just bad for everyone. The important thing now is that we find their nephew, Duke, and make sure he's okay.
Hey, did she say they just bought some stolen droids or something?
Yep. Damn shame.